Hello, everybody. Welcome to Heat and Magic Assist podcast. I am your host, Carson, and I'm joined by my two friends, Steven and David. And today we're going to have a little bit of news about the NBA, plus what happened over the week with the Magic and the Miami Heat. So let's start off with some news. David, what do you want to talk about?
Yes, thanks, Carson. I want to talk about just a follow up to our last week topic when we talked about that missed dunk that wasn't called by James Harden, and that the Rockets filed an appeal to the NBA saying, I don't know, I guess they want to replay the game or being rewarded a win. But Adam Silver just gave his decision on Monday, and he basically denied their appeal. And just saying what we said last week, his main reason was that the Rockets had sufficient time to overcome the error. And he also fined those referees as well. Just interesting that, everybody knows that was a missed call. Even the commissioner admitted it was a missed call. But the main thing, like we argued last week, was they still had a lot of time. Still a lot of time left to overcome it. And it wasn't that missed dunk that cost them the game. It was just their lousy play and allowing the Spurs to come back from a 13-point deficit. I guess we were just good to hear the commissioner say that. But I think the biggest controversy I see from that is unlike missed calls, like missed foul calls or missed travel calls or whatnot, there's no guaranteed points from that. The person can miss those free throws or whatnot, but this call was a guaranteed 2 points. So I think that's where a lot of controversy was coming from, especially from non-Houston fans. But just a lot of time left, and it really was the Rockets' own fault. I don't know if you guys have anything more to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's the Rockets had plenty of chance to win the game. Yep. The fact that they lost the game and they're blaming on that single play, just 2 points.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. I don't think that's fair at all.
There are a lot of missed calls, blown calls. The Toronto and the Heat game was a blown call. Because the Heat, it should never have went to overtime because when Norman Powell made a three that gave him the go-ahead, he stepped out of bounds.
Yeah. Yep.
And they blew the call. They even reviewed it, but they couldn't take it back. But they didn't reverse it either.
Yo, man, those very few calls are being reversed. It seems like refs, because the refs who missed the call, they're the one reviewing their own missed call. It's just like they're not gonna reverse their own. They're not gonna admit their own mistake. Yeah, the challenge is a nice feature, but I feel like you need independent review, not being reviewed by the ref who made the call.
Exactly. Completely agree. Don't they have a whole research center that is viewing the games live with referees?
They have a headquarters. They have a headquarters that does that.
And they should have access to plenty of resources to figure out what the right call is, yet they choose to have referees who have somewhat of a biased opinion even after making the wrong call because they don't want to seem like they did something wrong.
Exactly.
So I just don't understand why they rely on the referees being there and try to make every single call possible for the game when they have so many different resources and technologies to make the whole game a lot more efficient and accurate. But I guess that's a different topic for another day.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll implement it next year. I mean, this challenge was a nice feature for this year.
Yep. It's a good beginning, I guess. A good start.
Anything else you guys want to mention? Well, if you guys don't have anything, I just want to mention 2 things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just small, little tiny things that are happening. One of them is about Kawhi Leonard because today is the day that he's going to get his championship ring. They're playing in Toronto, I believe. This comes up to the next thing because Kawhi Leonard is getting his ring today, and he's one of the pretty much the main reason why they won a championship last year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Toronto's ever going to retire his number? Even though he only played 1 year, but that 1 year was significant when you're thinking about history of the basketball in Toronto. He's the sole reason. He pretty much is it, even though he only played 1 year.
I'm gonna say no. It's just too short.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it's kind of pathetic. After just 1 year, you could give that big achievement. Usually they hang jersey for a legacy.
Exactly. Thank you, David. It's like they're rewarding a mercenary for coming in and giving them a championship. And that doesn't sound right to me. I like Kawhi a lot, but he just stayed there for 1 single year. And as great as that was, it's just 1 year. Like David said, retiring jerseys or banners, that's for legacies. I don't think Kawhi qualifies for that.
I just want to point this out though, because you
Mhm.
guys say that it's about legacy and it's pretty much about legacy. I believe the Miami Heat also retired Jordan's number, even though Michael Jordan never played for them.
I think every team did that, didn't they? Or
A lot of teams did it, and it's not just to. I mean, he never played for the Heat, but it's just to solidify his legacy as the ambassador, the greatest player of the sport, biggest name in the sport. It's just to show a lot of respect to his name. I don't see anything wrong with that, in my opinion, but I could see why people wouldn't like it.
Because what if Kawhi Leonard became a great player?
It's too early to tell yet.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Right now, it's too early to tell. But what if down the
Yeah.
line he does make a legacy? He does have a legacy. You don't think
There's a lot of
Toronto's going to
ifs
retire?
to get to
no,
that point.
I still don't think so.
Like
Like if
I'm
he
just
had
saying,
that great
I
career,
just want to ask.
the assumption is he would
Asking.
won championship in the Clippers then, right?
I think Jordan's legacy in getting his jersey retired by opposing teams is a matter of what he did for basketball as a whole. Only very select few people can make that claim. Like in this generation, would probably be LeBron and maybe Stephen Curry, just so the impact he did on today's game.
Mm-hmm.
But other
What?
than that, you got plenty of other players that are extremely good, but they're never going to get that clout that Jordan had. Not from a basketball perspective, but just from reputation and fame.
I don't know about that. I agree with you on the Michael Jordan. I don't know about Steph Curry though. I wouldn't put Steph Curry on the same.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't either. But he did change the game a lot, and
Oh yeah.
that has a
Yeah.
lot of credibility just from his own personal play style. Like no one did what he did, and now every single player and every single team in the NBA is trying to play like he does.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
You might not think he's as good as Jordan or LeBron, but he did change the NBA. Modern NBA has been changed because of him, solely because of him. I don't think people are going to retire his jersey though. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
Well, anything else you guys want to talk about?
David Fizdale being fired from the Knicks is a joke. But then again, it makes sense. The Knicks are a joke, and that's the end of my news.
I don't really want to talk about the Knicks. I mean, what's he gonna do with didn't they sign like 10 power forwards?
That might be a small number there, Carson. Might be more.
Oh, more than 10. So what? Their whole team was full of power forwards.
I know, right?
They could.
Like, come
Yeah.
on. He got free money. That's all he need. That's all he need. That's all he
I
wanted.
guess, but I feel like his coaching legacy is tarnished. So I think he also got fired from Memphis, and he didn't left a good impression there either.
He made it to the playoffs.
He was a good coach. He hasn't
Yeah.
been given a good chance, although it's not entirely the team's fault to the sense that he should know what he's getting himself into, and maybe he needs to pick his teams more carefully.
I don't think you have that opportunity anymore.
Well, I think you need to be patient. The opportunity might be there, but for example, like he's coming from the Heat. The Heat are known to put out very good talent, even from a coaching perspective. Like Juwan Howard never really got an NBA job, but he's doing really well in college.
Mhm.
David Fizdale has a lot of credibility with a lot of important players in the NBA, given that he was an assistant coach with the Heatos, LeBron, Bosh, and Dwayne Wade, and they all have very good things to say about him. And I'm sure his credibility runs through all the organizations in the NBA. I just think he never picked a good situation to put himself in, and I think that's partially his fault.
Yep. I agree.
I like him as a coach. He did a good job for the Memphis Grizzlies, but they just didn't care too much for him. I think the management was changing, and so they got rid of him.
He also had problems with handling superstars, apparently.
Didn't he have beef with Marcus Gasol?
Yeah.
That's the issue. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't remember it ending well for him in Memphis.
Hey man, all I know is that whole spiel he made when he was playing the Spurs in the playoffs, when he said "take that for data," oh, that was so great. That's an awesome moment.
You can put that on a T-shirt.
Oh yeah.
Well, if there's no if there's not like anything else you guys want to talk about, let's talk about Miami Heat and the Orlando Magic. So let's start with the Orlando Magic. Go ahead,
No.
Steven.
I digress. You have to start with the Heat after yesterday's game with the Hawks. You gotta talk about that. That was nuts.
Overtime win.
You
Yeah.
gotta
Oh my
talk
God.
about that.
Where do you want me to begin?
I'm sure you have plenty of things to
When
say.
Trae Young said it's over, saying it's over, and then he came back
With
and
about a
then
minute left. Up
and then
6.
decimated them in
What's
overtime.
even more funny was he wasn't even
Killed.
playing. He wasn't playing till like the last minute. They sit him out because his defense is so putrid. They can't.
Putrid.
he look at the last few possessions that
He didn't
after
play.
he said that he wasn't in. He wasn't in the last possessions.
Oh, he wasn't.
Even overtime, he didn't play much either.
Oh yeah, because the Heat were just scoring nonstop.
I mean, look at Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson made 10 threes yesterday on 10 of 14. 10 of 14
a Heat record.
Yep.
Tying him to Mario
Chalmers. Mario Chalmers record.
Yeah.
That's like, wow.
There was a lot of career nights in that game. This is
Kendrick Nunn.
first time 2 Heat players got triple-double in one game.
Yep.
First triple-double for Bam Adebayo, I believe.
30, 11, and 11. Very impressive.
30-point triple-double.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
30
That's
points.
really cool.
His week has been gorgeous. He's been scoring a lot of points. Like, this is his best scoring week. Like, he's averaging 20 over the past 3 games. He's averaging 25 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Incredible. But it was Jimmy Butler that was named the Eastern Conference of the week, though. He had a even better week. So
he played really well too.
Yeah.
The Heat have gone to 2 overtime games, back to back already.
Yeah.
Well, not back to back, but 2 games in a row overtime. And Jimmy Butler has carried them.
Oh yeah.
Like taken them in overtime. Like he dragged them so that the game can go to overtime.
Oh yeah,
that's what the
Tyler Hero took over in the. We're talking about the Bulls, right? Are we talking about that one?
Yeah, we're talking about the Bulls and the Bulls. But he still tied the game yesterday.
He did. Yep.
He did. He tied the game yesterday with his 3.
He is not a good 3-point shooter, but when it comes down to like the last minute, he seems to make everything.
It reminds me of a very familiar player from the Heat, right behind you, David. Like, Dwayne Wade is not a particularly great shooter, but when it came down to winning the game, like he would just make crazy shots, jump shots, 3-pointers, whatever it took.
Steals, blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and players notice, like in that Chicago Bulls game, when the Heat were down 2 with I think like 13 seconds left, he drew the double team, and that left Tyler Hero wide open. And so just that presence, everybody know he's clutch, and him drawing the double team on like on a mid-range shot, that was the difference right there. That's what his superstar status gets you, wide open shots for Tyler Hero.
Yesterday's game was just crazy. Also, the last person who also had a career night yesterday was Kendrick Nunn. He scored 34 points. On over 50% field goal percentage.
Yes, a breakout game for him. Yes. He was kind of having a rough week. This week was supposed to be an easy week for the Heat, but a lot of those games, all 3 games weren't that easy.
I'm sorry. I had him confused. Duncan Robinson and Kendrick Nunn. Kendrick Nunn scored 36. Duncan scored 34.
Right. Yes. Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler had 100 points. Combined for 100 points. Because the bench came up empty for them.
Yeah. Tyler Hero was rough.
It must have been his
Tyler
first
Hero
game
was
of the
rough.
year.
Yeah. 0 for 6.
I mean, what's concerning is that the bench weakness, and that's because Goran Dragic is still injured. I think something to do with his groin. I think he's still out for a while.
He's pulled his groin. That's tough.
It's a little concerning.
Also, Winslow is also out because of back. I think he had back issues.
Jeez, man. He's always hurt, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
It's very disappointing. Another key thing I like from last night's Hawks win for the Miami Heat is the return of Derrick Jones Jr. He was guarding Trae Young, especially in the second half, and he was doing a pretty good job at
I
it.
thought he was fine. He kept up.
Yeah. Trae Young did not really have a good game last night, shooting wise, and yeah, very impressive guarding the star point guard. I like that from him.
Vince Carter also did well in the first half, but he kind of fell apart second half because I believe he made 4 three-pointers in the first half. I just remember one of them was the Heat were up by 15. Either 12 or 15. I believe it was 15 though in the first quarter, and then they just let the Hawks catch back up.
Was that because the second unit came in?
DeAndre Hunter had a.
It was when the second it was during the second unit. But yeah, DeAndre Hunter played really well yesterday.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna be a good player.
He blew by like Duncan Robinson a few times.
I'm not expecting Duncan Robinson to stop
True.
that guy.
True. Yeah, that's not his strength, but yeah, he took advantage of that matchup. Yeah. But then he let Duncan Robinson get off too. So
they don't play defense. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, they're also missing John Collins too.
Yep.
That's his own damn fault.
Yeah. That is true. No one to blame but himself. Did the Heat have any other interesting games?
I mean, against the Bulls, it was. Yeah. I know I criticized Jimmy Butler last week, so I think the trend is I have to keep criticizing him so he could keep having these monster games. Even when he's not shooting well, he just makes plays for other teammates. He gets shots for them. He is their point guard, like I mentioned plenty of times before, and like it was really crucial in the last minute for that Chicago Bulls game for Jimmy Butler. Like I said, drawing the double team, allowing Tyler Hero to get that open three to put the Heat up 2 with I think less than 13 seconds left. Even when he's not shooting well, he does so many other things. His defense too, he contributes everything.
And that's a very important point that I always bring up when I'm talking to friends about Jimmy Butler who don't consider him a true superstar in the NBA, which to me is so puzzling because he just makes winning plays every single possession, offensive possessions, defensive possessions. He just tries to win the game however way he can. And that's the issue that I have with these other players who, all they know what to do is score, which is a good skill to have. But if you're not scoring, which happens a lot, if you're not shooting at a proficient level in that particular game, how else are you going to contribute to your team in helping them get that win? I don't consider those types of players a true superstar because they just can't carry like someone like Jimmy Butler can. I would definitely call Jimmy Butler a superstar. And the fact there was a lot of, at least from my perspective, I heard a lot of, analysts and experts say that he's not worth the money for a full max contract. I was like, you're nuts. Like, there's no way. Just because he's playing third fiddle in Philadelphia and he's actually acclimating to his role as a third superstar doesn't mean that he's not worth the money.
Do they know that like during like game time, like the last 2 minutes of the quarter when the Philadelphia was like if they're down or they need a bucket, they don't give the ball to Ben Simmons or
it was all Butler.
Yeah.
It was all Butler.
Or Embiid. They give it to Butler to close the game. That doesn't make sense at all.
I was super excited when Jimmy Butler went to the Heat. Super excited. I was like, "This is perfect. This guy is great. Like, who wouldn't want him?" Anyways,
I feel like Jimmy Butler fits what Miami, like the Miami Heat, like thing, because Miami wants to play hard. They play hard every single possession. They play defense and they just play hard. That's what Jimmy Butler likes. That's what Jimmy Butler didn't like when he was with the Timberwolves, when he had supposedly his little spat with Karl Anthony Towns.
And despite all that drama that happened after that first season with the Timberwolves, he got them to the playoffs. Yep. He himself is the sole reason they got to the playoffs. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I don't know. He played a lot of minutes this past week or actually this month.
Yeah, he did. He's been playing over like 40 something minutes.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
They
not
need
good.
to like
yeah, I know.
cut that down.
But they
Like
have a
the
lot of
30.
injuries. I mean,
Yeah.
Winslow and Dragic are two primary ball handlers, playmakers for the Heat, and if they're not there,
He has an injury history, so I'm just worried about.
uh,
I mean, he's been he's been the player that played the most minute for the Heat, so it's a little concerning, at least to me.
so Dragic's injury is not really. There's no timetable for return now, I guess.
I'm not seeing it.
Haven't seen any news for that yet.
What about Winslow?
Winslow, the last time I looked at it was day to day for
Okay, so
Winslow.
Yeah,
that's a good sign. Yeah, because they're two primary ball handlers for the Heat, correct? And
yep.
besides those three, including Butler, who else handles the ball? Maybe Kendrick Nunn?
No, Kendrick
Yeah.
Nunn is mostly the scorer now.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, they gave some of the well for the Bulls game, they let Tyler Hero bring up the ball. They're letting Tyler Hero initiate offense on the Bulls game.
Okay.
Yesterday, not so much because he was having an off night yesterday.
Oh, so hopefully, as the players start getting healthier, cross your fingers, Winslow and Dragic start getting healthier, maybe they'll start toning down Butler's minutes.
Yeah, hopefully.
I
It's
find that
just
really hard.
yeah, and
It-
especially this week they didn't like this like I mentioned they played the Wizards, the Bulls, the Hawks. These are not competitive teams, but
The friendly schedule.
but they did struggle against these teams. Like it wasn't an easy win for the Heat or for any of these three teams.
hmm I think it's a win, as much as they struggled with the injuries that were given, they still got the win. So I think I would take that as a positive.
if Winslow wasn't injured, I feel like his minutes wouldn't be in the 40s. I feel like it would be in the 30s if Winslow wasn't injured. Because Winslow is also I feel like the only reason why they have to play Jimmy Butler that long is because nobody else on that team can create their own shot.
Yeah.
Nobody can beat their guy off the dribble besides probably Goran Dragic, and Justice Winslow. They don't have anybody else who can create their own shot and beat somebody off the dribble. They don't have anybody. Like Tyler Hero, he has that little step back like jump shot, but that's just a jump shot. It's not driving it in, trying to get contact and get to the free throw line. Because that's what Jimmy Butler likes to do. Jimmy Butler likes to do. He likes to draw. Because during the Chicago game and then also during the Atlanta game, all he did was just drive it in on
Yeah,
whoever was guarding him and get to the free throw line and then make the free throws. That's all it was. And then he got him. It's like the tough gritty type of way to tie the game, but that's what they need.
That's what it
And
takes.
that's what he's
Man.
good for.
Gotta
And
make those
they
winning
win.
plays.
They win.
Mm-hmm.
Back to David's point, the minutes, I do agree with you, David. They need to really cut those minutes down.
yeah.
He can't. He's 30, right? What 30? Is he
30.
31 or he's
No,
30?
he's 30. Yeah, but still,
He
he
can.
has an injury history. So, like he hasn't played a full. I can't remember last time he played a healthy. He wasn't injured.
He also has a lot of mileage on the legs.
Mm-hmm.
Those legs have a lot of mileage.
Yeah.
Because back when he was playing with the Bulls, Tom Thibodeau used to work him to the ground.
One interesting point I want to bring up: the Heat's next opponent is the Lakers. They played them on Friday, but the Lakers actually played the Magic tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this gap. I'm assuming once after the Magic game, the Lakers are probably gonna come in Miami around Thursday or late Wednesday. So they're just I'm getting to the night life, the home field advantage that Miami have. I want to see if that comes into play when they play.
I think what do they say? Miami undefeated.
Just the Lakers have a lot of free time in Miami.
Miami undefeated.
I want to see how they play. Yeah, on Friday.
But it's funny how you say that because a lot of I was talking to one of my coworkers the other day about the Miami Heat, and he was like asking me how did Chicago like get to stay in the game against Miami when they came in Saturday? Didn't they go out on Saturday night? How they still have so much energy? So I'm like, I was thinking about that. Like, they probably didn't go out if they were able to do that, bring the game to overtime, right? Unless both teams went out the night before.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't
Like, it
think
doesn't
this
make
whole
sense.
advantage works against just the opponents. I think it works against the Heat as well. Like if they see a weak team coming in, it's like, I could go out tonight. Okay, let's go out tonight, guys.
And places in Miami, they don't close till like at midnight. They close like at 6 a.m. the next day. And this is from experience. So anyways, anything else you guys want to talk about the Lakers?
I guess it's a
Or
good
about the
segue to
Lakers?
the Magic. I don't know if you have
Yeah, since
anything else you want to mention about the Heat.
No.
Okay. So kind of like what David mentioned, the Magic are gonna play the Lakers tonight, and obviously the Lakers are a bad matchup pretty much against any team in the NBA, given how big their lineup is.
Oh yeah.
hmm
And the Magic, they don't have Vujovic back, which as much as he can provide on the offensive end, I don't think he'd be able to stop Davis or even LeBron from driving in. I mean, we all know how good the Lakers are right now, so I'm not really expecting a win from the Magic, but I'm gonna
I'm not either.
Mm-mm.
Even at home, even in Orlando.
yeah, I'm gonna digress from that point. I did want to talk about the Magic's last week's schedule.
hmm
Just kind of a quick overview. Right now they're 11 and 12. 11
Mm.
wins, 12 losses. They're eighth in the East. Last week they went 2-1. They won one against Phoenix, which I thought was a great win for them. They won at Cleveland, but then they lost in Milwaukee. And I really wanted to touch on the Milwaukee game, even though it was an expected loss. I just have to mention how great Giannis is. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, he is just so dominating. But I'll get to that when I get to the Bucks matchup. I did want to talk about the Phoenix Suns wins though. I thought it was a very important match for the Magic just because they're kind of like the same tier. They're both fighting for the eighth spot, hanging around the 50 win percentage rate. Putting them against each other, it kind of made me realize that the Magic, they're a good team, even without Nikola Vujovic. You know,
Yeah.
they play well, especially on the defensive end. The whole team had a pretty good output, but
Well,
especially Aaron Gordon. He got 32 points on 87 percentage,
I,
Oh my
which is not
God.
sustainable, right? But I do think it's very important for his confidence since he's been having pretty bad games. And I'm not saying he's going to be able to produce this at a high percentage, but it's good to see that he's still trying to put up numbers because it's important to me. It's important for the team for him to produce on the offensive end. There's not a lot of weapons that can score a lot in the Magic, so for him to
Mhm.
contribute consistently between 17 points to 20 points would be great, and having a huge performance like that against a pretty solid team, I think it'll do wonders for his confidence. It might not help the very next few games, but maybe in the future he'll remember this game. Specifically about that game as well, the Magic didn't have Vujovic, Carter Williams, or Michael Carter Williams or Aminu, so that's another reason why I think it's important they get that win. They're gonna need every win to solidify their playoff spot, and these
Mm.
very competitive games against teams that are around their level, they're gonna count.
There, the rest of the month for the Magic, in the month of December, the rest of the schedule is
It's
really
rough, man.
tough.
It's so rough, and I'm gonna get to that. So like winning against Phoenix, or other teams that are around, I feel like are around the same level, like the Portland Trailblazers.
Mhm.
Those are gonna be very important wins for the Magic when it comes to the playoff run. We all know how. I don't know. Well, I don't think we all know, but Devin Booker has been playing really well.
hmm
Um,
You're not
just to
gonna
point
talk.
out.
What about Frank Kaminsky? Because he played well during that game, didn't he?
Oh no, that's just the cherry on top, man. I'll get
Oh,
to that.
oh.
But
Because that's the only thing I remember about that game
Frank the
is
Tank,
Frank the Tank.
Frank the Tank.
Yeah.
He Frank the Tank can do well in certain matchups, but he's not very consistent, unfortunately.
Nope.
But he's still good in my eyes. He's great. Frank the Tank.
He's okay. He's best backing up Aaron Baines.
Yeah. And so Aaron Baines did not play during that game.
Right.
He's been out for a while. But Tyler Johnson didn't play either. DeAndre Ayton didn't play. So the Phoenix Suns were also depleted of a good number of rotational players. But so was the Magic. So I kind of put it as even, I would say. But I want to say that Devin Booker has been doing really well. He's been playing and trying on defense, and he's not bad. You know, he contributes a decent amount, staying in front of players when he needs to, especially not just giving up on plays, which goes a lot. It says a lot about Monty Williams as a head coach. Got the whole team playing very hard. But like I mentioned early in the season, he's actually doing really well as a playmaker. I think he's averaging 6.5 assists a game and shooting on the highest percentage, either field goal percentage wise overall or 3-point percentage. So he's taking his game to a whole another level, and I think it's important to keep an eye on him. He's playing pretty good. Do you guys have anything to add about the Phoenix Suns game against the Magic?
Well,
I don't.
Go ahead.
I already mentioned mine, which was Frank the Tank, because he went 10 for 12 and scored 23 points. So that's the only thing I want to bring up.
Yeah, I think the next game he didn't do well afterwards. But, I mean, yes, you talk about consistency, Steven, for Aaron Gordon. I think what's been huge is Terrence Ross for the Magic.
Yes.
He
very
had a
inconsistent player.
So
but
you're
during
right.
this, so I wanted to touch on that. I was gonna get to that after the 3 games. But during this 3-game span, he is actually averaging over 20 points on a very good field goal percentage. Evan Fournier, not as efficient, and I believe the game against the Cavs, he didn't shoot as well, but he's still shooting pretty well, averaging over the 20-point game. So, those are the.
Let me split some numbers for you. For the month of December, Evan Fournier, he's shooting over 50% from overall field goal percentage and 3-point. He's averaging over 25 points a game as well. So,
yeah, he's playing. He is the sole reason the Magic have any sort of scoring on a consistent level.
Yeah.
And then Ross has recently been scoring more, being more effective. So like I mentioned, he's been averaging over 20 points a game coming off the bench. And that's been helping the Magic a lot because they don't really have any scores from the bench except for him. So he needs to score. DJ Augustine sometimes scores, but he's more on he'll give you 10 points maybe here and there. But Terrence
this has
Ross
more to do with the Bucks game, but if he's not scoring, he is a liability on defense.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
he's not a very defensive heavy player.
George Hill was running circles on him, man.
George Hill, oh my God.
I just wanted to touch really briefly on the Cavs game. It was a very low scoring game. But this is the game that Michael Carter-Williams returned. I never liked him too much as a player because he just talks a lot. He starts up a lot of drama with the players for like really weird reasons, like not very insignificant reasons. But watching him play more closely, he's such a good contributor on the defensive end. Very active, very, like David said, great hustler. He's always trying to be involved in the defensive end. His hands are always active, even if he knows the balls are being thrown from a blind spot, like behind his back. His hands are always following the path that he expects the ball to land, like on the opponent's hand. And he had a great stretch in the Bucks game where he made 3 defensive plays straight that kind of gave the Magic a spur. I think it was the second quarter. They got him pretty close. And going to the Bucks game, it's just crazy, like how impactful Giannis is. He comes in, dominates the whole game, goes into the bench, and is just chilling. Oh, the Magic are getting a little close. All right, put Giannis in. Boom. The league just scratches automatically. Like, it was nuts. It's just instant impact. And it just feels like, all right, we're in a tough stretch. All right, Giannis, go do your thing. And just completely dominates the game. Jonathan Isaac tried to play defense on him, but he got in foul trouble pretty early on in the first half.
Mm.
And so he didn't really have an impact too much just because he was on the bench a lot, which says a lot about trying to stop Giannis. And Aaron Gordon is just, as athletic as he is, he's just too small against Giannis. Giannis is just a bulldozer. As much as Aaron Gordon tried to contain Giannis, Aaron Gordon had a pretty rough night on the offensive end. It was a lot more competitive than I expected, but I think that's just because when the game got away, Giannis would sit and the Magic would try to come back and do a decent job. But technically, it was never within winning range because all the Bucks had to do is just put Giannis back in and like, oh, there goes the game. But a couple of other notes. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon, yeah, he can't contain Giannis, but like him and Isaac had some nice blocks on Giannis.
Oh yeah.
They still, I think he still got it back and scored, but it was a good effort.
I think Giannis scored 32 points in 34 minutes or 35 minutes. It is, it's pretty impressive. But like David mentioned, Isaac I think he got like 5 blocks in the game, 4 or 5 blocks.
He could have got more if he wasn't in foul trouble.
Yeah, it's just a physicality. Isaac is not, he can play very good physical defense, but his blocks come from being very long and athletic. Which athleticism doesn't really relate against someone who is a bulldozer like Giannis, who plays so physical, right? There's no finesse about, well, there is finesse about Giannis's game, but it's just his sheer strength is just overwhelms defenders.
What they should have done is they should have just kept fouling. They should have just kept throwing him on the line. Then they would have had a better chance of winning that game, because Giannis only he was 6 for 12 from the free throw line.
Yeah.
He shot 50%. So if they really wanted to win, they should have just kept fouling him and just did like hack a Shaq. If that's the case, I feel like it. If you see somebody who's only making half their free throws and you want to like come back,
I think
hack a Shaq.
I think the math on that is they have to shoot less than 50% for it to really be an advantage.
Yes. That is correct.
I don't think Giannis is that bad a free throw shooter. I don't know. That's what you usually only see it for like Shaq and Andre Drummond and DeAndre Jordan. Like they shoot under 40% from free throws. But yeah, I don't know if that would have worked too well.
Some good notes. Other good notes about the game. Markelle Fultz had 9 assists and I think just 2 turnovers. I really like Fultz as a playmaker for the Magic. If he gets a shot going, which I think is very likely as he develops, he's going to be a great player for the Magic.
Yeah.
And I hope he keeps improving.
Yeah, I see him getting the max from the Magic.
I see that too, David.
I don't know. I think it'd be worth it.
I don't know if you guys are saying it as like it would be a good signing or.
Oh, I think somebody will give it to him. So,
to be fair, I am very optimistic about his potential that I'm willing to even consider it. Same for Jonathan Isaac, because they could get much better than what they are now. When you compare it to someone like Vujovic, who is pretty good, but he's pretty much the player that he is. He's not gonna get that much better.
Yeah. Well, I think Evan Fournier is more relevant just because he, like I mentioned last week, he has a player option for next year. He's getting paid $17 million, and the way he's playing now, you could see him being worth $20 million or more. Do the Magic want to pay that much for Evan Fournier? Like
the Magic absolutely should not pay him, even if he has a career year. We all know about contract years, right?
Yes. So, yeah, that goes to your point. Like, you know what Evan Fournier is.
On the regular.
This is his best. You're not going to expect too much more from what he's doing now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely agree.
On that note, you guys, anything you want to finish it off with? Because we are running out of time.
Real quick, just gonna give a little injury report about the Magic. Markelle Fultz is questionable for today's game against the Lakers due to illness. Nikola Vujovic might return as early as Friday, this Friday against the Rockets. They're gonna need him for that. And Al-Farouq Aminu, he's
Is
not
it a
gonna
home
have
game?
surgery.
Is that a home game or is it a away game?
It's a home game for the Magic. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So Al-Farouq Aminu will not have surgery on his torn meniscus on his right knee.
That's good news.
But there's still no timetable for his return. And like David mentioned, the Magic have a pretty rough schedule coming up.
Mm-hmm.
After the Rockets game this Friday, they're going to go on a 4-game road trip in the West. They're going to start off with the Pelicans. And then they go to Jazz, Nuggets, and Trailblazers. So that should be pretty interesting. And they need to get as many wins as possible. If they have a really productive week, they could win. I actually see them winning the Rockets, the Jazz, and the Blazers.
Whoa.
So the Rockets are
winning the
more
Pelicans.
like they definitely need to win that one.
I think you guys have a chance against Portland.
I think the Jazz as well.
The Jazz, yes, I believe so
yeah,
too.
they're not doing too hot.
Exactly.
I think they're
you guys can do 2-1. I don't think you guys are gonna beat the Rockets unless the Rockets go out in Orlando. But places in Orlando close at 2.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. That's me closing off on the Magic. So,
well, that's it for this week's Heat and Magic Assist podcast. See you guys next week.